This week's breaking news, the most unsurprising report ever, has been released by Special Counsel John Durham. But the mainstream media proves once again that they are indeed hack actors, not journalists. In actual news, an investigation into a crimes committed by the Biden crime family, that's being blocked by the deep state. But that's not all that surprising either. Hello, I'm Mike Huckabee, and prepare to be utterly unsurprised on this May 17th edition of The Breakdown. Before we get started, if you get to the end of this video and you find it informative, I hope you'll consider subscribing to the channel with the subscribe button below and clicking the notification bell. We're almost to 1 million subscribers on the channel, and with about 70% of you who are watching not being subscribed yet, we would get there real quickly with your help. Now, if you've been paying attention to anything besides CNN and MSNBC and other Democrat-run media conglomerates like the last few years, well, you already know essentially what Special Counsel John Durham revealed in his 306-page missive that was released on Monday. Not that you've necessarily read it all. You didn't have to. It's taken years to finally come full circle to conclude what you and I always knew, that the whole thing was a spectacular hoax from the very start. A hoax and an attempted coup started by Hillary Clinton's campaign. When that coup failed in 2016 and Donald Trump won the election, they continued the hoax into his presidency, hog-tying him with phony investigations that made it impossible for him to fire people without being charged with obstruction and getting impeached, which he was twice. They secured their positions by preventing him from cleaning house, and that's one reason why the swamp is still the swamp. There are hardly words to express how odious this is without resorting to unspeakable ones, but I must say there was something cathartic about watching the knuckleheads over at CNN having to report on Durham's findings.
Bottom line is this. The investigation found that the FBI failed in many, many ways, things that we already knew from a previous Inspector General report, and I'll read you just a part of it, of John Durham's conclusion. He says, based on the review of Crossfire Hurricane and related intelligence activities, we conclude that the department and the FBI failed to uphold their important mission of strict fidelity to the law in connection with certain events and activities described in this report.
Yeah, not to be out knuckle-headed by CNN, though. Here is the anti-Trump numbskulls at MSNBC reacting to being told in the Durham report that they've spent years promoting a big, fat, insidious hoax. Let's simply say that denial ain't just a river in Egypt. I must warn you that this may raise your blood pressure to dangerous levels. Watch.
It's like a rabbit hole conspiracy that suggests that the Trump bar paranoia infected his ability to stand back and evaluate whether the probe yielded guilty convictions of people who would have had nothing to do with any of these questions he looked at. It is a view from so far down the rabbit hole that what needs a scrub, what needs some oversight, is what Mr. Durham did for 4 years that repelled his longtime prosecutorial partner, Nora Dennehy, and other high-level DOJ prosecutors.
Speaking of rabbit holes, Nicole Wallace needs to go back into one, if the rabbits would have her, and I doubt they would. In only slightly more surprising breaking news, in a stunning move, the IRS has benched the entire group of investigators who had been looking into Hunter Biden's financial affairs, along with the IRS criminal supervisory agent who came forward in April to blow the whistle on the DOJ for improperly impeding the investigation of the president's son, Hunter Biden. The IRS's reaction to this allegation is to improperly impede the investigation of the president's son even more. According to the New York Post, quote, the purge allegedly was done on orders from the Justice Department, end quote. I, for one, am shocked that they would do this, right? The Post learned this from a letter written by the whistleblower's attorneys, Mark Little and newcomer Tristan Levitt, to congressional leaders. The attorneys characterized this move as retaliatory, though IRS Commissioner Daniel Werfel told Congress under oath that there would be no retaliation to whistleblowers. Of course, we believe that. It's interesting strategy-wise that this move came just as Durham released his long-awaited conclusions. And speaking of, let's go over some of the findings from the Durham report. Neither the U.S. nor the intelligence community appears to have possessed any actual evidence of collusion in their holdings at the commencement of the Crossfire Hurricane investigation, indicating that at any time during the campaign, anyone in Trump world and his campaign had been in contact with any Russian intelligence officials. That's directly from the report. You see, the Crossfire Hurricane investigators did not and could not verify any substantive allegations in the so-called Steele dossier. Also, from Greg Price on Twitter, according to the Durham report, the plan by Hillary Clinton to create a false story linking Donald Trump to Russia was briefed in August of 2016, keep that date in mind, by then CIA Director John Brennan to President Obama, Vice President Biden, Attorney General Loretta Lynch, and FBI Director Comey. So they all knew it was fake political garbage, a dirty smear job on Donald Trump. And that includes the man currently living in the White House, a thoroughly dishonest man who got where he is by blatantly lying again and again. And Obama knew it too, so he lied by omission. What's criminal is that it appears that people might get away with it. Most media will do what they can to just make it go away. The Associated Press has already attacked Durham for his, quote, spotty prosecution record, end quote, and said that his report fell short of Trump's prediction that he would uncover the crime of the century. But you know what? For the damage it did to our country, it arguably is the crime of the century. Former acting FBI Director Andy McCabe, now appropriately, of course, a CNN contributor, completely dismissed the report and claimed that Durham's investigation was never legitimate.
Yeah, I'm not surprised at all, because John Durham has failed to come up with anything new. Most of the report, the parts that I've been able to read in the last few hours, are a regurgitation of findings that were made by the Inspector General. Though I will give him credit for this. He's entirely consistent with the prejudging of this investigation that he communicated, a month or so in starting it. We knew from the very beginning exactly what John Durham was going to conclude, and that's what we saw today. We knew from the very beginning this was never a legitimate investigation. This was a political errand.
The lies and hypocrisy dribbling out of his maw are enough to make Hillary Clinton blush. Oh, and just wondering, how do you say there's nothing new while admitting you haven't actually read the report? Just be glad that McCabe is far away now from the FBI, and that with CNN's dwindling ratings, very few people will be hearing anything he has to say. Jake Tapper, also at CNN, was willing to acknowledge that Durham's findings are devastating to the FBI and exonerate Trump, quote, to a degree.
Regardless, the report is now here. It has dropped, and it might not have produced everything of what some Republicans hoped for. It is, regardless, devastating to the FBI, and to a degree, it does exonerate Donald Trump.
By the way, to what degree does CNN owe Trump and his people an apology for their years of rabid anti-Trump Russian collusion propaganda that was masquerading as news? So who gets held accountable? If no one goes to jail after falsely swearing, for example, that information presented to FISA courts was verified, well, that's not justice. Hillary, the mastermind of the bloodless coup that this was, and her flying monkeys all skate. They're the criminals who tried first to manipulate an election and later to try and take down an elected president. If the Democrats are really looking for insurrectionists, those who are a direct threat to our democracy, well, here they are. We've got them. The people that we should be able to trust to enforce our laws evenly and with no regard for politics, they failed us miserably, and they'll fail us again if there are no consequences to their actions. To conclude, former acting U.S. Attorney General Matt Whitaker appeared early Tuesday on Fox and Friends to say, we should all be outraged by this. Well, like me, he doesn't believe the FBI has taken the corrective actions that will prevent this from happening again. I think you put the wrong people in the wrong spots, and this could happen all over again. You know, that reminds me, right now would be a great time for Congressman Adam Schiff, the mouth of the West Coast, to show us all that evidence, the evidence that he claimed that he had of the Trump-Russia collusion. Come on, Adam, let us see it. Well, thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, I hope you'll consider subscribing to the channel, clicking the notification bell below, and leaving a like. Be sure to tune in to the live stream this Friday. I'll do my best to answer all of your questions. And if You want more of my news analysis and commentary? It's real simple. You can sign up for my free newsletter at MikeHuckabee.com. Comes to your email inbox twice a day, and easy and simple and fun to read. That's going to do it for this edition of The Breakdown. I'm Mike Huckabee.